What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Pit Crew podcast for episode number 17. Today I'm only joined by Cameron Romano as my co-host, and we got a special guest coming on here in one moment. It's going to be Carson Ware. He's not only a race car driver, he's also a musical artist with some hit songs that just came out. Cameron, how you feeling, buddy? Episode 17, second week on the show. Are you excited?
Absolutely. I'm very excited to be talking with Carson. Obviously, as a fellow musician myself, I got a couple of questions for Carson.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's going to be a fun show. I'm super excited. With that said, I say we go ahead and bring Carson on.
Let's bring him in.
Carson Ware, how you feeling, buddy? On the podcast, you just finished in the 28th position at Bristol. How you feeling?
Well, first off, I just want to say I appreciate you guys having me on. This is really cool, and I'm excited to do this. But I feel really good after Bristol. We brought home a clean race car. Almost 3 years since I'd been back in the Xfinity series, so I think we checked off all the boxes that we wanted to, and had a good weekend for my first race back in a while.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it. So we're going to start off with the beginning. Where are you from, and how did you get into NASCAR?
Yeah, so I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, more specifically Jamestown, but most people probably aren't familiar with the small town Jamestown. But born and raised in North Carolina. Obviously, my father, Rick Ware, is very heavily involved in motorsports, and grew up racing motorcycles and dirt bikes and stuff. And then that slowly transitioned into like Bandoleros and Legends cars in the INX series around Charlotte and North Carolina as a whole. And then, that quickly turned into late models and then fast tracked to Xfinity. So kind of a generic path to racing as far as, the different series that I ran and whatnot. But it definitely helped a lot having my father and his race team pre-existing. So that was a huge, huge help.
Absolutely. So you're not only a race car driver, you're very talented in music. Now, this is unheard of in the NASCAR industry. What made you want to go that route, and how did you go that route in the music?
So kind of like looking back, music was always something that was very important to me. And I feel like music was something that was like a source or like a form of therapy for me, like being able to listen to other artists at an early age. And granted, when I was a lot younger, I probably didn't really understand a lot of the stuff that some artists or musicians would talk about in their songs, but I quickly realized the comfort that specific songs gave me, or different music videos I would watch or whatnot. So I remember, specifically too, it's like when I was younger and, just like all of us, right? Like if we ever got grounded and sent to our room, I would be jumping up and down on my bed playing probably like a Kids Bop CD or something, and like imagining what it would be like to be on stage or to be able to perform in front of a lot of people. And just I didn't really probably realize it at the time, but I think that was kind of like the start of like, hey, like, I think I would love to either do music myself or write songs or be involved with music somehow. And I think that's kind of how that, originated and then, turned into what it is today.
So I'm curious, who is your biggest influences or your biggest influences in music and also in NASCAR and motorsports? So who inspired you on both sides of your two career paths?
So starting with the music, and more so, I'd say these influences are more recent time, but I really respected and got a lot of comfort listening to artists like Juice World and Lil Peep, and the guys that were making music like that was very important to me because they would talk about a lot of things that as I got older I really understood, and stuff really resonated with me as far as artists dealing with addiction or alcoholism, and we've all got an ex-girlfriend that really messed us up at one point. And, so hearing and seeing them be as vulnerable as they are and, as they were in their great music career and stuff like that, I think I took a lot of influence from those artists. Just the transparency and the rawness of the things that they would talk about wasn't necessarily stuff that could always be on the radio or even be on the radio at any point. But I really respected that a lot. And then that also gave me the confidence to be like, hey, it's actually cool to be vulnerable and talk about things that other people may not feel comfortable talking about or feel like they have anyone to talk about. So my outlet for those things that I was struggling with and going through was, I found that through music, as far as like using that as like a form of therapy, making music and stuff.
Absolutely. Juice World and Lil Peep, both huge inspirations to me as well. Just both incredible. To me, I feel like music, it has always been almost like a bit of therapy to me. And I feel like it's been like that for a lot of people because it's you find somebody that you can relate to, whether if that is a Juice World or a Lil Peep or an Eminem or a Triple X or where the case may be. I feel like if it resonates, it can go really far and can push you in very good stuff as well. But I feel like you picked up a lot of very good influences in your music craft, and I see that with a lot of your newer music. I see the influences from a Little Peep or a Juice World in that.
Nah, absolutely. And as far as like not artists specifically, but bands and stuff, and kind of like the sound influence that I grew up listening to a lot was like Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, Linkin Park. Like my older brother was very heavy and into rock and metal and stuff like that, and pop punk alternative music. So a lot of that, early I like to call it like the Vans Warped Tour era of music, right? And like I'm so jealous that I wasn't old enough at the time to be able to go to those things, but I know my brother did and his friends, and like I wish I was still around because that would have been so cool to go to. But like I said, with the Juice World, Lil Peep, and honestly now like with Machine Gun Kelly and Post Malone and guys like Jelly Roll and stuff, this whole kind of pop punk rock, country rock sound and alley of music that's out here now is very much so part of the influence, and I get a lot of inspiration from for sure.
I'm a huge MGK fan. I met him back in Charlotte back in like 2017, 2018. He gave me a guitar pick that he was using. I got a picture of him. So I love MGK. He's one of my
That's
like
great.
all-time favorites on the table. So I appreciate that. So you just dropped the song Fall and Fall Out. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I feel like that song has a lot of deep meaning behind it. But not only that, it is a radio hit in my eyes. I feel like this song can blow up in the future. It's produced so well. Your vocals are so good. The lyrics are extremely good. If you haven't checked it out, go check out Fall and Fall Out. But tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so a lot of my music is, I write a lot about things that I've gone through or past experiences or stuff that I'm going through currently. And that one in particular, I kind of looked back and, I had a relationship when I was about 18, 19 years old, maybe even when I was 20. But it was, I'd consider, my first love. And, when I was that young, and, I'm sure we all have one like that, where it's like, oh, like this is the girl I'm going to marry. And, I'm forever, or, happily ever after, and I'll never need another girl. And, quickly realized that, that probably wouldn't last forever, and it wasn't going to. And, just kind of like those feelings that, I had. And, um, I guess I could kind of use the terms, I had all my eggs in one basket with her at the time, and no other girl interested me. So kind of like wrote about the emotions of what that was like whenever I realized we were going to be done and that wasn't going to be a thing anymore. And then unfortunately, later on, we don't speak or, talk to each other, and, just kind of going back and forth with that kind of stuff. And using that as material to write that song, because that was a very tough time for me, and I was very heartbroken, I can say for sure. And she'd probably like to know that. But it's it was nice to be able to use that stuff that I went through, and like now it's something that I can listen to and I can enjoy it, and it's like not a bad experience for me. That's like the cool thing about music, right? Is like you can take something ugly or pretty, sexy, or whatever, and you can turn it into something that you appreciate or that you enjoy. And it, once was a sad and depressing time for me, is now something I can listen to and enjoy and be like, oh, this is an awesome song. And it's like, it's now a good memory, if that makes sense. So
That makes a lot of sense because I feel like you explained the meaning of that song so well from how I took it just by listening to it. And them are things that a lot of people go through and that are very relatable, whether if that's heartbreak or whatever the case may be. And that feeling of talking to somebody every single day to getting to the point where you're never talking to them again. It's a very relatable song that I think a lot of people are going to catch on to. And this, I feel like it's going to be a radio hit. Like, I feel like that one's huge. So I want to talk about the different genres of music that you make. So I've seen everything from like rap, where it feels like it's influenced by like that emo rap, and then there's like pop punk music. You have hit like every different type of music from what I have seen. Tell me a little bit about that, because it seems like you're very wide range within music.
yeah, so I think that kind of just stems from my love for music in general, right? Like, I love country. I'm not super huge as far as, the list of country artists I've listened to, but there are many country songs that I'm very, very into. Kind of like we talked about with the emo pop, rap kind of stuff. And I generally just I love music, and I've tried to dabble my toes into each one while trying to remain authentic and not, create something that I don't feel like is true to myself. I'm not trying to, step on anybody else's toes in any specific genre, or try to make myself out to be something that I'm not. But I've had a lot of fun experimenting, and I think that's, that's definitely one of the many reasons why I love music is, I can experiment and try all sorts of different genres of music, and some of them may get released, some of them may never ever get heard, but I had a blast trying it, and it was fun. And I also think it's fun to try and push, my writing and stuff. And I got to give a lot of credit to my producer and engineer Evan Joseph, and Digital Sauce, that we co-write a lot of my songs when we work together and stuff. And he has a very heavy metal band, background, and also does country music himself, and does a lot of songwriting and stuff. So it's really just, exploring stuff and trying different stuff, and just having fun with it, honestly. And I've had a lot of fun putting out different genre songs, and kind of exploring, and seeing what I'm capable of. So it's been a lot of fun.
You're absolutely killing it. So I'm going to go ahead and toss you over to Cameron and see what questions he has for you. I know he's really big into rock music, so he's going to have some fun questions for you.
Yep. I know you mentioned unfortunately missing out on Warp Tour, but it's come out that Warp Tour is actually coming back next year.
Are you
So
serious?
yeah, if you look it up, and Kevin Lyman is actually, like, standing behind it. So you're going to get that true Warp Tour feel.
Oh, that,
Um, so if you're ever looking for somebody to go to Warp Tour with, I'd love to go with you.
no, we definitely
'Cause
need to make a trip out of that and maybe do some filming.
please,
That'll be cool.
yes, can we?
Yeah, no, let's do it.
Um,
Sick.
um, but I want to circle back to this past weekend. Obviously, you raced at Bristol. What was it like knowing that you raced with Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
Yeah, so that was something that, and there was a lot of emotions that day and a lot of nerve and stuff. And, a lot was happening. I was trying to soak it all in and stay focused and whatnot. And when we were doing driver intros and stuff, and I saw, Dale walk up in his fire suit, I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I never really had like a moment to sit there and think about it. I was like, dang, dude, I'm about to race with Dale Earnhardt Jr., at Bristol. So that was really cool. And that was a very unique experience. And that's something that I hope I would have a chance to tell my grandkids when they'd be like, hey, freaking, I ran a race at Bristol with Dale Earnhardt Jr. You know what I mean? And just to be able to be on the same track as him, and his history with racing and what his grandfather was able to accomplish and stuff, and to be able to have the opportunity to go race and be in the same race as him was very surreal. And I'm very thankful and blessed that I was able to do that, because I know there's a lot of people that would just like to be at the same race that he's at, or whatever. So that was really cool. That was very special for sure.
Nice. Um, I had this question lined up. Do you have any other races possibly lined up for 2024 or maybe even 2025, whether it's uh, Truck Series, Xfinity Series, maybe make your Cup debut, venturing into other motorsports like IndyCar, NHRA, anything like that?
Yeah, so I'm actually in I will be in the 35 Joey Gase Motorsports Ford at Talladega next weekend. So you guys heard it here first. But yeah, so I'll be back in at Talladega. And then I'm not too sure what's planned or what's really open as far as the rest of the season goes. I know there was potential talks about doing Martinsville. But we're really kind of just going race by race right now. Obviously, takes sponsorship dollars, it takes funding to be able to go run these races, and it's later in the season too, and not a lot of rides are really open or available at this time. So I know, like I said, Talladega for sure, potentially Martinsville, but um, I know that we're working towards running a lot more races next year. Nothing's finalized or whatever. But the incentive is there, and we're looking ahead and trying to see what we can get our hands on as far as working with the team or potentially doing our own deal down the road and whatnot. So, like I said, just going race by race and seeing what we can accomplish and see what we can do before the year's over. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome to hear that you're going back racing at Talladega. That's got to be something like incredible because Talladega for some would be considered hollowed ground. Um, what was, I guess, obviously they're two totally different tracks. You're going from a short track all the way up to a super speedway. Um, how much, I guess, preparation do you go through, like depending on track to track, like going from Bristol and now you're going to Talladega?
So yeah, so that's a great question. So for a part-time guy like me, and I'm not tied with me specifically, I'm not tied with any manufacturer. So that in turn makes it to where it's kind of hard for me to be able to get manufacturer sim time like a lot of the other drivers get. As far as whether you're with Chevrolet, Toyota, or Ford. So really my preparation that goes into a race weekend is working with Fit Stop, my trainer Hunter, week in and week out, getting ready for the races, and a lot of iRacing with Brennan Poole. So I'll go over to Brennan Poole's house and we'll hop on the sim and he'll help me with working different lines, talking to me about how the last race went and kind of what he learned and what he saw during the race last time he would have been there. And that's really about it. In the past, I've been able to go to, I think, 9 different tracks when I was in Xfinity before. So luckily, for Bristol, I'd been there twice prior. So that helped, going back to a racetrack that I'm familiar with and having laps at and seat time, that was huge. But as far as, preparation and stuff going to Talladega, like I said, just working with my trainer Hunter at Fifth Stop and doing as much iRacing as I can. And, you know, I before this last race at Bristol, I'd never had practice and I never had qualifying in Xfinity ever because I was pre and post COVID. So luckily, going into Talladega, it'll still be my first time on a plate track as far as racing like Daytona or Talladega. But I'm thankful and fortunate that I can get practice now. So that'll be a huge factor into getting comfortable and getting acclimated for that type of racing. And other than the allocated time for practice, I mean, it'll just be the green flag drops and I'll just have to hope I got it figured out for the most part. So but I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited to work with Joey and Mike Hillman Sr. over at Joey Gase Motorsports for the plate race. And I'm excited to get that experience under my belt. And I'm excited, man. It'll be cool to be able to say I've raced at Talladega. So I'm stoked.
There you go. I got one last question before I pass it back to DLB. Um, Bringing up your music and racing, what's been the most challenging aspect of both career paths? I know you mentioned with the racing, it's limited seat time, not as much practice. But are there any other trials and tribulations that you've experienced in your racing career and also in your music career?
Yeah, so I joke about it a lot, but there's a lot of truth to it. I think the music industry and the racing industry have a lot of similarities as far as the amount of effort and work it takes to be successful in both. Because you have to wake up and you have to eat, sleep, breathe racing to be able to go racing and make a living doing it, or just to even go racing full time and not even make any money, but just to be in a seat for a full year. That takes a lot of work and a lot of diligence and a lot of effort. And this is, and there's a million racers. There's guys that are better than me at racing that may not ever get the chance, and there's people waking up every day fighting for a ride or a chance to be in NASCAR one day, right? Same thing with music. There's guys making music right now, right this very second, recording new songs that could be a huge top 100 hit in the next month. And you have to constantly wake up and try your best in both aspects. And I think it's tough to try and balance both of those and be 100% in both, you know what I mean, and finding a healthy balance to do both racing and music. But at the same time, I've actually enjoyed it a lot because I tend to do best when I'm busy and I have a lot on my plate and it's fun chasing a dream. I love racing and I love music, and hopefully one day I can bring both worlds together, and they hopefully can benefit each other as far as getting the music stuff on a race car and being able to promote my own releases, and then also hop in the race car and go race that same weekend, right? I think that'd be really cool and something unique that not a lot of other drivers could say they have done. um and I think also more specific to the music side, you have to be very vulnerable and not afraid to put yourself out there and potentially fail, right? So that takes a lot of heart and a lot of trial and error to find out what works, what doesn't work. Getting with the right guys and people like what I had mentioned with Evan and Digital Sauce, and I had the chance to be able to hang out with country artist and singer-songwriter David Jr. In Atlanta, which was really cool. And um, people like that in my circle, and that I'm thankful to be a part of, make the industry a lot easier, and being able to work with people that you can call your friends or family definitely helps on the bad days, because there's definitely hard days on both. You know what I'm saying? There's times where I drop a song that I put so much effort into, and it's like, like, the streams weren't as good this time around, or this last release was this amount of streams by this time, and maybe that song was better, but I felt like this one was. And you kind of juggle those emotions and those feelings on the music side of things. And then as far as the racing stuff goes too, it's like I could show up to a racetrack that I've fought for a top 20 at, and felt like we had a good enough car, and could end up second to last, or top 5 or top 10, right? So it's definitely a frustrating and very difficult business to be in on both sides, right? Because when you got a lot of heart in it and a lot of love for both, you want to be successful in both. But it's definitely not easy, but it builds a lot of character for sure, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know as a musician myself, I know it takes a lot of guts to pour your heart out like that. And like, you got to wake up every day, like, and you got to want it basically. And I know that there are some people that do it just to do it, and then there's others that actually have the drive and the passion. Um, so I know, like, coming from a music standpoint, I know it can be tough. On that note, I'm gonna pass it back to DLB.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, what is the like a day in the life of Carson Ware? What does that look like? Balance between music and racing. How does a typical day look for you throughout the week?
yeah, so right now I'm kind of back and forth between North Carolina and Atlanta. So my home where I live at currently is in Atlanta, but during the race weeks and stuff like that, I come back home, visit with family, and stay with my parents and whatnot. So I guess kind of the average day in the life for me when I'm at home and I have a race weekend coming up is get up in the morning, go have breakfast with my dad or my mom and hang out, swing by the shop, go by the late model shop, check on the guys and see if I can help with anything. And then go to Fit Stop, work with my trainer, Hunter. And then try to stay busy, either probably go to the go-kart track or go to GoPro or something and stay busy, have fun with the guys. And then just come home and get to bed early and wake up and do it all again. So that's kind of like the typical day in the life for me whenever I'm back home and getting ready for a race. And then as far as when I'm in Atlanta and I'm working on music, you know, wake up, I'll be at the studio by 11 with Evan. And then, you know, some days I'm there for 4 to 5 hours. Sometimes I'll get there at, you know, 6 or 7 at night and record all night till 5 or 6 in the morning. So, very very consumed with the studio and shooting content and trying to film videos and whatnot while I'm in Atlanta, and then staying busy training and working out and focusing on racing when I'm in North Carolina. So it's kind of like two different lives almost.
So I'm curious, as far as a 5-year plan, as you're getting back into NASCAR, what does it look like from 5 years from now? Like, what is the goal or where you want to be in the next 5 years, and how are you going to take them steps to get to that place you want to be?
Yeah, so I'd say in the next 5 years, you know, I'd like to be back full-time racing, whether that be the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, or even the Cup Series, right? I would just be thankful and excited to be full-time and be able to get that repetition and experience what a full season would be like, and running for points and you know, that whole competitive nature of it. And you know, as far as the music playing into that too, you know, I'd like to think in the next 5 years that I could have a song that was on the top 100, and you know, on the radio. And you know, I'd like to believe that if the cards play the right way, and you know, I keep working as hard as I can, you know, it'd be cool to be able to go to, you know, whether it's the Grammys or, you know, be able to be a contestant for an award, and you know, chase after that. So I think it's all very realistic, and you know, I just got to keep working and doing everything I am now to be able to get to that point, because it definitely won't happen if I start slacking or if I don't put in as much effort, if not more than I am now. But in 5 years too, I'd like to think that, you know, if the music stuff is going good and, you know, I'm able to start to see a financial return off that, I think it'd be really cool to be able to go run a full season and, you know, have, you know, whether it's an album or singles or other artists that I'm working with, you know, I think it'd be really cool to be able to have all the cars wrapped related to music or label or, you know, whatever it might be. So I think that's kind of my 5 year plan, is to get back racing full time, shoot for a top 100 song on the Billboard, and make the racing and the music worlds collide, and bring it into NASCAR. So I think that's the plan.
I think it's all reachable. Now, you talked about the emotions for Bristol in your comeback after sitting out 3 years. Can you walk us through the emotions of, you know, the pre-race of Bristol before you get fired up, and just how it felt being back at the track, and what that meant to you?
Yeah, it was really special. And you know, like I had mentioned, you know, I was nervous, I was excited, I felt a lot of emotions that day, and it was really nice to be able to have my mom, my brother, and my dad there. And you know, it was a very emotional day, and I had a lot of fun, you know, because like I had mentioned, you know, I never qualified and whatnot, so we had to make it in on time also. So that made the morning a little more stressful and the quiet time a little more loud, right? You know, I was like, oh man, you know, it'd be a real big bummer to not make it in the show, or you know, what if I make a mistake and you know, I end up going home and missing the race. So you know, I joke about it, but I was extremely proud of and excited over my 30th qualifying position. And I feel like we beat some good cars. And like I said, you know, we checked off all of our boxes and we brought home the car in one piece. And I had my family there the whole time, and friends, and an artist that I worked with named Younger One, Timmy, was there. So it felt like a big family reunion for me. And you know, how we finished and how we ran made it all, it was like the cherry on top. So it was a great experience, and I was very thankful to be back. And you know, while I was doing the driver intros, or while I was riding around on the truck with Brennan, I was like, man, I miss this stuff so much. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad to be back for sure.
Definitely super cool seeing you back. Now, speaking of family, How has Cody Ware helped you in your racing career? What kind of advice has he gave you throughout his experience in the Cup Series and his experience in racing?
Absolutely. Actually yesterday when I was driving back to the house, my brother called me and he was kind of giving me insight on what the Xfinity car feels like in the draft at Talladega. And, luckily for me, he's had a lot of experience in all three levels of NASCAR. So I can lean on him very heavily to get advice and also comfort too, because he's been in the same positions that I'm, becoming to know as far as, there was a lot of times where, in Cody's truck or Xfinity career, he had to race in on time and there were a lot of cars going home. So I know that he can relate to, either worry or my anxiousness, that I may feel at some of these races where we have to make it in on time. And, he's very comforting and he's a good big brother to me in that aspect. And, you know, he has a lot of insight, whether it's, NASCAR or road racing or, really anything with four wheels and a motor, he's probably raced it and done well in it. So, I can really ask him a million questions and he'll be able to give me great feedback. And, the stuff that he's learned from working with Ford and having time on the simulator and whatnot also has just made his insight even better. So he's really like an open book for me, and I'm very thankful for him because I can lean on him pretty hard, and he's right around the corner. So that's very very clutch.
Absolutely. Family is always the most helpful. So going into Talladega, which you just announced, that is a track. That is a wild card track that we have seen so many underdog winners come from it, especially the Xfinity Series. Like, you realistically have a shot to win that one. What is your nerves and preparation going into Talladega and being such a big stage and such a great opportunity to get your name back on the table for any of the fans that may have counted you out during your absence?
Yeah, so same emotions that I had at Bristol, right? I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. But I think I'm nervous for the right reasons, right? Same plan as Bristol. I just need to log every lap I can. I need to learn as much as I can. It's not about going out there and trying to be a superstar. It's just getting as much experience as I can and being there when it matters. And I think our plan is going to be, for the first stage, or if not up until the last 10 laps, right? Just ride around, stay out of trouble, stay with the draft, be there when it matters. And, hopefully it will come out with a good finish and a clean race car again. So, guys are in my position and, don't have a lot of rides lined up or whatnot. Finishing the races and logging every lap is very, very big and helps us get more rides, right? So, I'm just going to go there with not expecting anything other than just keeping focused and worrying about finishing every lap. And, hopefully in turn that results with a good finish and a good day for our Joey Gase Motorsports guys. And, I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a very wild ride, and I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot very quickly there. And, obviously, as you guys know, if something goes haywire, it happens pretty quick, right? So, and with not a lot of room to go. So I think it's, I'm very excited for it. But like I said, I'm anxiously nervous because, I want to finish and do good. And, I'm going to, this is going to be a new experience and a lot to learn for me for sure.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. And hopefully I'll see you there at Dega when I'm there working with the Drive Smart crew. But my next
For sure.
question is, how realistic is iRacing and how big of a tool has that been for you in your racing career? Because we see so many drivers talk about it being a tool and they got sim work. And how has that helped you, and how realistic of a simulator has iRacing been?
Absolutely. So I don't really have much. So like I had mentioned earlier, I've never done like the manufacturer sim time before. And I know that that stuff's very realistic, just like iRacing is. But as far as, for me in iRacing, it's a tool that I can use to, I can start it up. I can go to a track that I've never been to before, right? And I can at least start learning lift points. I can learn and get experience what the car feels like to some degree, running the high line, running the low line, right? And visually, it's comforting whenever you go to a place that you haven't been to before, and it's like, hey, this looks pretty on point with how iRacing looked, right? And having all those marks and different things that you can use through iRacing, and it's unreal how realistic iRacing has gotten over the years. And it's for a guy like me, it's like I can go restart. I can crash 50 cars and I can just get a new one and I could practice a qualifying lap 500 times before the race, right? And at least I have that edge or, that experience going into the race weekend and not being completely blindsided or not know what to expect entirely, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
it definitely
absolutely.
helps. It definitely helps.
Definitely helps. It's always all help is good help. Now, what advice would you give a 15-year-old kid out there that, or even younger or a little older, or just a younger Carson Ware on any kid that wants to get into NASCAR or get into music and chase their dreams and be in the position that you're in currently? What advice would you give them?
I think probably the biggest thing I would say first is just, no matter if it's racing or if it's music, I think just to always be yourself, no matter what anybody thinks or what anybody has to say. I think that in both racing or music, from what I've been able to see, whether it's artists, that I've watched and I respect, I feel like in both racing and music, chasing a dream, I feel like it can be hard or easy sometimes to lose yourself and kind of lose sight of why you got into it in the first place. And, for me, I feel like there were times in music or in racing, I kind of lost sight of whether who I was or why I was doing it. And I would just, hopefully tell them that, just to keep focused and to do it because you love it, right? Don't do it because of the money. Don't do it because of the amount of autographs you'll be able to sign or, the fame or whatever, right? I would just tell them to do it because you love it and to chase that dream and be yourself while doing it. And I think that if you have those things in line, a lot of other stuff will come together as well. um, and just have fun. Don't not everything has to be so serious all the time. And I know there's a time and place to be serious, but just remember to always have fun while you're doing what you love, right? And there's going to be days that you're going to want to cry and you're going to want to go on a drive and just blare music and wonder why you're even doing it, but just stick with it and just push through it because the rainy days or the hard days, when you have a really good day, it'll all make it worth it. All the 100 days that were hard, when you have one really good day, you'll be like, oh, this was all worth it, you know what I mean? And repeat that process. So I just tell them to be themselves and stick with it because it's not easy, but it'll be rewarding whenever you get to that point that you want to get to.
Absolutely. I feel like that is incredible advice. I would definitely say the same thing. Just remember why you're doing it in the first place. And I feel like you are one of the realest, most open drivers we may have had on this podcast. And it seems like you were so open with who you are and very comfortable in your own shoes. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that took, a lot of years of making mistakes and having to learn from my mistakes and, getting to a point to where, for the longest time, just like any other young kid or athlete or whatever, right? There was times where I wasn't okay in my own skin or, I was consumed with what people may have thought of me or wanting, everyone's approval or wanting to be accepted by everybody. And that in turn can cause a lot of, anxiety or depression or sadness and stuff that you deal with. And, it's it's not a secret, that I grew up and I've struggled with, alcoholism and addiction, but I'm thankful to be sober today. And, that series and those years of my life taught me a lot about who I am. And, everything that I've gone through up until this point has made me who I am today. And I'm proud of who I've become. Definitely, I'm not perfect by any means, and I've like I had mentioned, I've fallen on my butt a lot of times and had to learn from it. But that just makes it all part of the story, and I'm thankful for mine, and I wouldn't change it. So that's that.
Super, super relatable. So, my next question is obviously you got a lot of tattoos. I have tattoos. Cameron has tattoos. Can you tell me a little bit about the meaning behind some of your tattoos? And, for any fans that haven't seen your tattoos, what's like the meaning behind them and why'd you get some of them? I think they look incredible. And, I got both my arms tatted up and I love tattoos. They're very big in rap culture and very big in modern culture right now.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I'd say is I think we all like tattoos for the reason being that they also look cool, right? so I that's definitely a part of it. But I have one on the right side of my face here that's it's an ILY, which stands for I love you and I lost you, for my grandma that passed away. I was very close with her, and then that's why I have a full heart and then a broken heart. Because I know she's up in paradise having a good life and she's not in pain anymore. So that's the representation for that one. And then the 333 on the side of my face is my angel number, which also goes with the IOI on the other side of my face. And every time I see that, I think of my grandma. Or there's times where I see that number and I'm either dealing with something, or if I need to kind of sit back and think on a decision that needs to be made or something like that, I see that my angel number comes into play at weird but good times, if that makes sense. And then as far as like the other ones go, don't really have too much meaning, other than I think they look cool, and I just use them to kind of express myself and kind of stand out a little differently than others. I got my birthday on my wrist. I got one right here that says I'm broken, but it also says I'm okay, the way you read it and the colors, because I'm definitely broken, but I'm okay these days. I've overcome a lot and stuff like that. So that's kind of the story with most of them. I mean, the ones I pointed out are kind of the more serious ones, but other than that, I just kind of just got them because I like them and I think they look cool.
I love that. I appreciate that. That looks really. I love them. I love them, and especially in like the NASCAR community, like a lot of guys our age will look at face tattoos and arm tattoos and think that is cool. Obviously, NASCAR has a very wide range of an audience and a lot of older fans. Do you feel like having face tattoos or anything can like affect you in NASCAR? Or are you just so comfortable in your own skin that you don't care? Because that's how I kind of perceive it, and I feel like that's the best way to perceive it, and that's you, and that makes you happy, and that represents what you love in your story, and you have it on your body forever for the world to see.
Yeah, so obviously, the world is still the world, right? And being in a sport that deals a lot with corporate businesses and very large companies that are very professional, and not to say that ones that accept tattoos are not professional, but it definitely can be an obstacle and a hoop to jump through. But at the same time, I also like the challenge, because I think there's companies and organizations that I can reach or be involved with that, either love my image or like that I'm different, or, maybe I can cater to a different market of drinks or food or clothing, or, whatever it may be that maybe an average driver may not have much influence with, if that makes sense. And also too, I think um, I think it'll be cool to be able to work with some companies that may not have thought about getting into NASCAR, or didn't really maybe feel like a driver or a team seemed like a good fit because of a look or an aesthetic that they had, and maybe I could be one that could be that bridge over. You know what I'm saying? So if that makes sense. But and like I said, it's definitely can be an obstacle to jump through, but I like the challenge. And hopefully there's companies that and like ones I've already dealt with, that accept me for who I am, like who I am, and think the tattoos are cool, or it just doesn't bother them and they don't see it being a problem. So I'm just going to keep rocking.
Yeah, I love the idea, because that market is so true. Because a lot of these companies they could be a big, let's just say a tattoo company, or just any like stylish company or anything like that, and they can look at your image and your brand and say that's more relatable, because we're looking at NASCAR like an old style southern sport, and they can be like, this is our guy, this is what we want, this guy can represent our clothing brand, or any company that's going to relate with the kids or any young men in their 20s. So I feel like that's obviously super cool. So my final question is, Rick Ware, we see him at the track every week, coffee in hand. He always looks bossed up, ready to work. How has he been a help in your career in week by week? What kind of motivation does he give you and support does he give you right now in your career?
No, most definitely. And also, my mom and my dad, I got to give them both the most credit in the world, right? Because, at my lowest points, they've stuck with me and they've never given up on me. And, regardless of the racing, regardless of the different motorsports that we're involved in, my parents have always had my back, always wanted me to pursue the things that I love and want me to chase dreams. And if it weren't for them, there's no telling where I would be. And I owe anything that I have or anything that's to come to them. And they've, taught me a lot of lessons and helped me get through stuff that was very hard and difficult to understand at times. And, at points in life where I felt like, a lot of my friends weren't my real friends, or, felt like there was nobody around. And no matter how bad I may have messed up, they're always there. So, I owe it all to them. And it's, it's very cool to be able to, go to the racetrack and race in the Xfinity series, and also have my dad there with his cup team, and be able to travel to other racing events with him and my mom and my brother, and just to see what he's built and what he's accomplished from starting with nothing when he moved here and to what it's gotten to now. It definitely keeps me motivated. And, I strive to be 20% of the man that my dad is. So, I'm very thankful for him and my mom and my brother, and we're going to keep chugging along and going racing. So I'm extremely thankful for him.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to send you back to Cameron for any final questions on his end.
All right. Thanks, DLB. Not really so much a question, but I just wanted to kind of throw this in there. And I know you mentioned that unfortunately, you lost your grandmother, and you got tattoos to kind of symbolize that she's always with you. I lost my grandmother as well, last year, actually. Very dark point in my life. I want to I'm just gonna throw out there. DLB knows, because he and I have been in close contact pretty much the entire ordeal. I got a tattoo back in May. I can actually see it right here. I don't know if it's all I ever wanted was to just exist. It's song lyrics by a band called Red, and it's the song Cold World. I highly recommend that you check that song out, and also the album, and also their entire discography. So if you're ever looking for new music, hit me up. I always got some bands that I think you should check out.
Absolutely. I definitely will, dude. And we're all going to stay in touch and get in a group chat or something, man. But I'm very sorry to hear about your grandma, man. I know what it felt like when I lost mine. And I mean, there's not a day that I don't think of, what I would do to have her back or have her around, man. So, just know you can reach out and talk to me about that anytime. Cause it's not something that ever fully heals, but you just kind of keep moving forward. But, knowing that she's always going to be around, if that makes sense. Right. So,
Yep.
For sure.
All right. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm gonna pass it back to DLB. I think it's about that time, don't you think?
Absolutely. So I feel like this interview, I think Carson is the most relatable driver I have ever spoke to, just hands down. Just so open about everything in his life, wears it on his sleeve for the entire world to see. Like shows
Literally.
his story on him. It's no, like I'm really glad that we took on this interview, because it's been way more than what I thought it was going to be. It's been way more. There's such a cool story here, and I'm curious to follow the rest of his racing career and music career. And do you have anything exciting in your music career coming up? I know you're always working on new music, but what's next for your music career?
Just gonna keep working, pushing, writing and recording new songs, and hopefully to get some more videos out here soon. If you guys haven't seen it already, I just dropped my first music video for Deathbed. You can find that on YouTube or all streaming platforms if you just search CARSN. So just keep a lookout for more singles to be released. Gonna work on a project and hopefully have an album out next year, and just going to keep working, networking, and building relationships. And, like I said, hopefully in the next 5 years, I can have a top 100 hit. So that'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. I think that's the game plan. Is there anyone you'd like to shout out before we cap off the podcast here tonight?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again to my parents, Rick Ware Racing as a whole. Robbie Benton, and Tommy Baldwin, all of our guys at RWR that have supported me and helped me get back into racing. And want to say thank you to Evan and Digital Sauce, David Jr., Mello, all of our camp back in Atlanta. I hope you guys are doing good. Hopefully you can see this. And want to say thank you to Fit Stop and Hunter for keeping me in shape and helping me stay focused. And just want to give a thanks to Joey Gase and all of our guys over there for allowing me to make my return this year and to have at least a couple races with them. So I'm excited to see what the future holds. And I also want to say thank you to you guys for allowing me to be on here, and thankful, and I had a lot of fun with you guys. Got some new homies.
Absolutely. We're all going to be in touch after this show, and I'll see you at Talladega here next week, so that'll be a lot of fun. But I appreciate you for coming on the Pit Crew podcast for episode number 17. Well, Cameron, as we're wrapping this thing up, how did you feel about episode number 17?
Honestly, so much better than I thought. It was really awesome getting to talk with Carson, getting to bond over music, bond over racing. I'm jealous at the fact that he got to race against Dale Earnhardt Jr.
You're jealous? I feel like that interview was incredible. This is one of our best interviews we ever had. It took a swing of emotion and just music, everything. It's like this one we went really in depth with it, and I feel like Carson has a really, really cool story for the world to hear. So I say we give away a little bit of Kyle Weatherman. This Kyle Weatherman shirt. All you got to do is type something in the chat, and you automatically have a shot to win it. So we're going to do a random draw here, and the winner is going to be Logan Easter. All you got to do is head on in to the chat. Well, head on in over to Twitter and go Drive Smart from there, and we'll get you hooked up with the shirt. Just send them a tweet, send them a message, and we'll be good to go. So I think we should go ahead and wrap it up. Episode number 17. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.